right, good morning, everybody. It's time to call the meeting to order of Tuesday, November 18th. And we have no agenda additions today, so our next item of business is to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Citizens to be heard. Do we have any citizens to be heard today on items not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. Approval of bills and vouchers. They are here.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
All right.
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Approval of minutes from November 4th and 12th.
Move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
And a second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. That leads us into our 835 line item here, and we have the award contract for food services for the jail, TSOX, and juvenile center. It looks like we got Julie and Steve, and good morning.
Good morning.
Is there any reason why we would not accept the one bid we got last week? Or
I see no reason not to accept the one bid.
especially when it came in lower than?
Yes, it was a very good proposal.
All right. Julie, go ahead.
So it would be our recommendation that we go ahead with the Aviance proposal for a food service contract.
Okay.
And the amount?
Is $2.05 per meal, and currently we're paying $2.14 per meal, so there's a reduction.
Amazing. I will move acceptance of that contract.
Is there?
I'll second that.
All right. So, Steve, are you okay with this? Are you,
We're good.
any reason why we shouldn't do this for
No,
the
they also
juvenile center?
provide condiments as part of their meal, so we're gonna see additional savings on top of that, so. there's
Oh,
no reason-
so your budget can go
I
down.
was just going to say. There you took my line.
Okay, well, so we'll see that final adjustment before December 31st. All right. Any other discussion on the, all right. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. All right, Ryan, we have our capital improvement fund, that fund.
Yeah. Morning, Mr. Chair and other members of the commission. A couple of weeks ago, Mr. Chair, you asked for an update on the capital fund balances, and we have two of them. We have Fund 30, which was the bonding account that we had set up, and then we have the other capital improvement fund, the $100,000, which we put in there on an annual basis. We call that Fund 19.
Did we start that in 2010?
Yes.
Seems like just yesterday.
I know, 5 years already. Goes by in a
Getting
hurry,
old.
doesn't it?
You're getting old.
Yeah, it goes by really fast. Well, as you can see up on the top, Fund 30 balance has the Fund 30 has a balance of negative 88,000. And we expected that because when we went into the motor vehicle project, I'm quite certain I mentioned to you folks that the motor vehicle, Fund 30 would handle the motor vehicle project, but the parking lot, we would then be taking out of Fund 19. And the parking lot, with its design and the bid, and then the sidewalks outside afterwards came to, it was right in that area of maybe 75,000. So we're very, very close on that. So Fund 30 will be closed out now. We will be taking money from Fund 19 to balance out that Fund 19 of $88,000. And so if you look down on Fund 19, then you'll see some of the major projects that have taken place there. The remaining balance in Fund 19 as of right now with the deposits of all 5 years, we have 178,000 in there. So if you subtract out the 88,000 to balance out Fund 30, we will be about $90,000. at the end of the year for Fund 19.
Okay. Any questions?
Is it making sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
that does. We've done, that was a good plan.
Yeah.
We started that because
Chuck, did you have?
in both, I mean, it really has worked out well, and it's so much easier to make decisions about projects when we have the money in place, so.
Yeah, it's worked out well.
The bond that we put out for the 2.3 million, what length of bond was that?
That was a 5-year bond.
Okay.
And the final payment will be in 2018, and that's when we start, accumulating dollars. That's when we start having our bonds paid off completely.
Okay.
And we're
So-
about $7 million
So
out.
2018, the year 2018 is when our residents pay the last payment to us? Or is that when we make the last payment? Or when is it done
We make the last payment.
in terms of being assessed to all of our property owners in Clay County?
2018.
2018. So,
I take that back. We'll make the payment in 2018, so that the assessment will be 2017. Yes.
okay, so the final assessment to the property owners is 2017.
Yes.
All right, and because it's, this obviously, in my mind anyway, really turned out to be a good thing. I think it, based on bids we got and things that we accomplished, it was a smart thing
Good
to do.
investment.
Knowing what we have going forward, 2017 will be here pretty soon. I think we need to, right after the first of the year, reconvene that capital committee and start going out over what our needs are going to be for the next 5-year period.
Sure.
And to start planning for when this bond is done, how we can move forward to, we're talking about several things already. We're talking about the
Highway shops.
Highway shops are an issue. So we have some other things, and any of those things that we can incorporate into this type of deal that would minimize or prevent severe increases to our property owners would
Yes,
be,
absolutely.
and this really did that.
Yes.
It was,
Yeah.
we were able to get the money up front, get these projects done, and through a small amount of an increase, able to have, it just made sense to do, and
Yeah.
we need to strongly look at doing that again.
Right.
Frank?
Where are we going to use some of that bond money that we're saving there after 2018 for the jail? Wasn't that supposed to go to the jail?
Well, that's not this bond money.
That's not this bond money.
This bond was going to just go away, but I think the bond money that we were talking about were on the Family Service Center and all of those major bonds, because I don't think when we did that, this one was really even included as to keep 75% of this.
Well,
For
Mr.
that
Chair,
purpose.
I think it was. I believe
Okay.
it was, because remember when we did bond this,
Yeah.
we accumulated a couple of the law enforcement center, and it was, the law enforcement center was in housing ownership.
Okay, so
And
we combined.
Yeah, and remember, we saved about $60,000 just in interest too,
Okay.
when we did that. So-
Well, then we're going to have to relook at that because
Yeah.
the short-term bond that we're doing for capital improvement, that should be an ongoing thing.
Sure, I agree, yeah.
And so we shouldn't be committing 75% of that to go just to the jail. And I was never under the assumption that this $2.3 million bond was included in that.
Oh, okay.
I thought this excluded that. It's, in the grand scheme of things, on an annual basis, it isn't a lot of money.
And I think you're still all right, though, because remember, it was 75%
Right.
of about $7 million.
Yeah.
So a quarter of that would be in that $2 million, $2.5 million.
Yeah.
So that would still free up for bonding for
Yeah.
capital improvements in addition to the jail. So
Right.
even it's staying a very minimal payments on it. So I think you're all on the same
Yeah.
a reasonable page.
And the remaining 90,000, we've had some things that have come up, and are we looking at projects to use for this 90, or?
Yeah, well, we have a big project going on in Family Service Center right now. and the elevator project.
Oh, okay.
And
Yep.
we had talked about utilizing some of this money for that, and of course, that won't be done until about the middle of March 2015. And of course, in 2015, we'll add another $100,000 to this. But if you remember right, and I'm going by memory only, when we handed out the capital improvement list, we're well into the 10-year mark, that we have completed most of the projects that were even from 5 to 10 years. The only ones, I think, that are on there that won't be addressed will be the front parking lot over at the Family Service Center, which is still in pretty good shape, and then the other issues were in the jail, and we have deliberately delayed those because of
Right.
the fact that we'll be looking at a new one.
Yeah, I think the jail right now, I think that issue is that we need to put whatever we need in there to keep it functional
That's right.
for the time being.
Yep.
But we, you know, and I don't know if the rest of the board is aware, but I've asked Mr. Berg to, we're going to convene our finance committee portion on the jail coming up, but I also want us to relook at going back to the jail committee, the building committee, to the design committee to start a process so that when we ultimately go to our citizens and want to talk about, we need to know what we're looking at building and how much it's going to cost. And so we're going to, that's a process that's going to move kind of quickly in 2015, and as far as I'm concerned anyway, to keep that ball rolling. But on this bond deal, so the elevator, going back to the elevator deal, how did we, when we approved that project, where did we anticipate those dollars coming from again?
Well, if you remember, right, the bond has been paid off on that building, and that was substantial, the payment on that. And every year, we were taking some dollars from the general fund to augment the gap there, and you've been doing that since the concept of it, since '92. And this is a $300,000 bid. That building now, with a brand-new roof by this bonding, by all new windows, $360,000 by this, that should be pretty well self-sustaining. So the idea was to pay for that, hopefully with the rents and different things that we get out of that building. But we don't know exactly.
So we incorporated that into the Family Service Center annual budget then, the payment of it?
I'll say hopefully. And the reason why I say hopefully, you never know what your expenses are going to be exactly. That's why we're using a little buffer zone here with the capital improvements. If you choose to do this, or if you choose to amortize that going forward, you know, you can do that as well with that building.
I don't remember the discussion, but we must have, I just, for the life of me, can't imagine that we approved a $300,000 project without a plan to pay for it.
No, the plan is that it will pay for itself.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
through the revenues that are generated.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
So that's what I
Yes.
wanted, that was my
That's
question.
what you wanted to hear, yeah.
So, yeah,
That's
because
what we did.
we're not taking retired bond dollars at this time to pay for it.
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. And with the fact that, you know, you'll have $190,000 in this fund as a backup, so to speak, if you had to utilize
Come
that.
2015.
Come 2015. And that's when the project is completed, is in 2015.
But I
March.
would love the fact that we wouldn't have to use this 190 for that purpose.
And I agree with you. And I think that building should pay for that.
Okay.
Elevator.
Because that number could come in real handy for
Yes, it
some
could.
other things we've got in the
Yep.
fire here.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
No, I think it'll be okay. I really do. And I know that's tough to say, but the revenues are looking good for that building. It's 100% occupied, which is really positive, and that always hasn't been the case. And the rents, we feel, are competitive. So.
And I think maybe what might be good to do here too would be to take that original 5-year, what our plan was on this whole thing, and get it to Jenny.
Oh, sure.
So that she can review, and then you can show her what's been done and,
Right.
and what's remaining, and
Yep.
and then we'll obviously have to be looking at, you know, a whole new set. I mean, all of our buildings and everything that we own, just they need attention.
Right.
And if you don't give it the attention at the appropriate time, it costs more later.
Costs a lot more.
So I think we need to be together with our building maintenance and everybody and start planning out the next 5 years and what our needs are going to be, and to be ready. And then we could be looking at potentially getting something going in 2017.
Right. And I, Mr. Chair, I probably should knock on wood, but we had complaint after complaint after complaint about odor and environmental issues and different things in this building and that building. And I can't think of a complaint that we've had for a year and a half, 2 years now, after we fixed the sewer system within this building. And if, you know, I hate to bring that up again, but remember some of that old sewer system, there was leakage in the walls.
Oh, yeah.
And you can imagine what that would do to contaminate. Plus, in the county attorney's office, look over at Jenny, there was constant concerns about and odors down there, and we did put in an air exchange system down there that cost several thousands of dollars to get fresh air down into that mechanical room that's sat right next door, and we closed some drains, and we've done a lot of work in these buildings, and you're absolutely right. We have to stay on top of that, or those complaints will come back. So,
Right, okay. That's, any other comments to Brian about our capital improvement projects?
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we're right on schedule. Committee reports. John, we'll start on your side today, if you're ready.
Yeah, well, we had the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting last Thursday, and there's a lot of things going on with solid waste right now. We talked considerably about the landfill, the gas collection, and that it is, we think we've figured out some of the problems, and it's working better now. It's not probably to what we would like it to be as far as the collection. It sounds like the flame has only gone out occasionally now. We're used to go out every day, and so it's we're doing a much better job there, and they found some of the leaks and some of the contamination and the reasons why it wasn't working well. But they're continuing to work on that, so hopefully we can improve that. We talked about the MRF that's being suggested for material recycling center that maybe would have a single stream, which in most places has tremendously increased the amount of collection for recycling. And our study that we contracted will be done in January, and hopefully we'll find out then what have information enough to make decisions as to what we do into the future. But I think it's pretty exciting, the possibilities. Some new things they did that have worked quite well. I mean, just the simple thing is Bring Back Jack, the thing with returning and recycling or composting their jack-o'-lanterns. And they already They didn't do as many, I think, as they expected yet, but they had 3.5 tons of jack-o'-lanterns they collected already, and it was still 3 or 4 days left in that collection process. So that too, and more than just the what they collected there, I think is it gets people thinking more about it. It's just kind of a clever way to get people to be acknowledging that yes, there are things we should be composting instead of throwing them into the landfill and so on. So there's a lot of interesting discussion at SOAC, and I think things are going to continue to be exciting there. So also 2 o'clock that afternoon on Thursday was the Land Management Committee with a diversion, and like most of them, it wasn't a long meeting. It was less than an hour, I think, that we met and reports on appraisals and the process of those things. Some of that's going much slower than they expected in Oxbow, the appraisals, but it's coming along, and they think that it'll speed up as soon as they get through some of the first ones. I didn't stay for the authority meetings, so I presume that Kevin has more things to report there. And then yesterday I was at the township officers meeting in Barnesville, and good meeting. There was a lot of good reports and interesting thing. I thought Bruce Albright did a super job of reporting on the status of the watershed and kind of the history of it and the future of it, and And I thought that was a very, very positive meeting. So that's all.
Thank you, John. Wayne?
This morning, Personnel Issues Committee, it's all I had, Mr. Chair, and I'll let you report on that as you were there too.
All right, very good. Frank?
Okay. Last Thursday, I went down to WCI meeting in Fergus Falls. Pretty much covered what they're doing with safe routes for schools. And the other thing, Nancy Straw, the executive director, is leaving down there, so I think this month, in fact, she's going to be done, I think, this month, so she's going to Oregon for another job. And after that, I went to the Soil and Water Conservation District meeting. They're looking at, in December, they're doing sort of an open house, possibly inviting commissioners there. You know, and I know we discussed some with I said about people coming to report to us to see what their department is about and what they do. What they're looking at doing is bringing us there and showing them what they do, you know, so they may be looking at an open house December, on the next meeting, December 11th, I think is the next meeting. I don't know if they'll have it set up then or not, but they may look at a December 11th meeting, inviting the commissioners over there for just an open house to show what they do, different programs they have. And yesterday I was at the township meeting too, and I agree with what John was saying. The good reports, you know, Dave Overbo gave a good report. Kirk from Solid Waste was there. Shannon from Recycling gave some good reports. They gave a report on the Heartland Trails, where they're doing and stuff like that. And townships were concerned that they're probably not involved enough in that Heartland Trails, but my feeling is we're just getting started on that Heartland Trails, you know. Possibly, I don't know when they should really got in there, you know, but I mean, they're planning a couple of meetings to get the townships involved, and I think they're doing it properly. They're getting the townships involved now, you know. We didn't have a plan to give them the first, you know, so why, the question is, why should have they been involved, you know, but they feel like, I think some of the townships felt they should have been involved, but they finally have something to present to them now to get them involved.
Who gave the presentation on that?
On
Metrocog.
Dan Vansworth from Metrocog gave it.
Okay.
More Mike Hewlett was up there, Jim Osnes, John Young.
Okay.
They were, and Cecil Johnson. They were all. There's 5 of them there talking about it. You know,
So this is one that's coming all the way from Becker.
all the way from Park Rapids
Yeah. And then
to Frazee,
Becker to
to Red Lakes, and on into Moorhead. But
Okay.
there's got a lot of discussion with going along the railroad tracks, and I know the railroad has to have some concern about giving away any right-of-way along the railroad tracks. So,
Well, I think the corridor where that's going, I think it would be in our best interest to try to have a representative from each of those townships along the way.
definitely. I mean, that's what the next plan is.
Okay,
You know, and they were concerned they weren't involved yet, but that is the next plan,
Yeah.
to get the townships involved, you know, and it just,
Well, you're the guy to get it done, Frank, so.
well, Grant is the representative there, but,
All right.
okay.
But it goes through your district, too.
Yeah, yes. But I agree too, Bruce Albright really gave a good overview of what the watershed's all about, how they work and stuff like that, so.
Mr. Berg gave a very good report too, by the way.
Yeah, and that was, he was my final one on here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was,
Thought maybe you'd forgotten him.
yeah, he was there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
No, I appreciate Brian.
So that was an afterthought, wasn't it?
I had him checked here, yeah. I had him checked for the end, you know. No, he gave a good report of where the county's at and stuff like that.
I have to say that I picked on Brian quite a bit this morning already before this meeting started, so I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one.
He gave us an insight of this. That had something to do with his eyesight, I guess, you know.
All right, Frank, are you
Yeah,
got
I'm
more?
done, I'm
Okay,
done.
all right. All right, well, I had, last Wednesday, we had our diversion public outreach committee meeting held in West Fargo, and that one, the focus was, we had a member of the chamber was there now, and they're going to start making a more constant effort at making all of those outreach meetings emphasizing their support for a permanent project. Then we spent quite a bit of time talking about retention. Retention was a big topic both at the public outreach meeting and at the diversion authority meeting, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's good to have those conversations. It's good to have those conversations globally with everybody involved, so that there's no misperceptions out there as far as what retention can and cannot do when it comes to the Fargo-Moorhead area. Then we did have the diversion authority meeting itself, and of course there was updates on the lawsuits and things going forward. They had their first preliminary meeting or hearing where each side submitted their stuff, and I'm referring to the diversion authority versus the JPA, the group that's from Wilkin and Richland County. And then, again, we talked a lot about retention, again, was discussed there, and there was, Roger Olson gave quite a background regarding the dollars that are available. The Diversion Authority has committed $25 million to retention as part of their project and part of their support for retention. And what we're learning is watershed districts who have the ability to do projects can probably come up with outsource funding to fund close to 90% of retention projects, with only 10% needing to be locally assessed. When you combine all of the different programs that are available out there now, the programs that Colin Peterson has been talking about through the Farm Bill and all of these other areas, so retention, the ability to fund some of these projects is probably better than it has been in a long time. Where the water boards and you even hear it here when we interview our watershed candidates when they come forward, they all tell you the most difficult thing to do is to get landowners to agree to store water on their property, and that becomes the real headache in all of this. Is that it's easy to say, well, we don't need it here, we can put it someplace else, but that someplace else doesn't want it either. So it just becomes a real problem. But
Including Fargo doesn't want it.
Sure, yeah, but but I think in regards to that, I'm going to be anxious to see what the DNR does come up with, and one of the things they're looking at is moving that alignment. So I'm anxious and willing to wait to see what the Minnesota DNR has to say about that. I think that could potentially change things in terms of where some water storage is going to be, but we'll have to see. That's going to be their. I don't want to interfere with their work and their study. Then the solid waste. John did talk about that. We did get a report on changing our policy in regards to solid waste in Clay County. That's, to put it simply, if we do incorporate it, there's going to be some mandates to all of our haulers, collectors, that it's going to be required of them to put that waste into our county landfill, or through an agreement with our joint partnership with Prairie Lakes. But that's in the study phase right now, and we're going to, before that's done, there would need to be public hearings involved with all of that, and I'm sure that we're going to hear from our haulers, who are going to maybe have different opinions, but it certainly is going to be something that's could end up being confrontational or what have you, but it is what it is, and it needs to be looked at. This morning, we had our PIC meeting, and we have some things going on in the Veteran Service Office where we're looking at making some changes to the structure a little bit in the VSO office. And this is at the recommendation of our VSO officer. And we're kind of getting through all of the issues that are around that, and we're hoping to possibly have one more PIC meeting maybe as early as next week if Darren has his stuff ready. And then we'll probably come to this board for your approval on any recommendation that we would do there. Also, as we all know now, the auditor, treasurer, and recorder's positions become appointed in Clay County effective 1 January of 2015. And so we had some discussions about where are those positions going to now fit on our grid systems. And we anticipate that coming to the board and probably making those appointments so that we don't lose any time with them having somebody active in the position. We're probably looking at making those appointments the last meeting in December, so that it is in effect on January 1st of 2015. And I guess I would, we'll probably end up having one more meeting of that group before that recommendation comes here. And we'll bring something forward. But that, it was certainly the opinion of the entire Personnel Issues Committee that we need to be ready to make that appointment in December so that there is no lapse whatsoever in those positions starting on January 1st.
Is there a reason why we're waiting until the end of December? Or?
Well, it's, Frank, I think right now the issues is because they were currently elected people, they were on the elected grid. And now they're no longer going to be on the elected grid.
Right.
And so there has to be some negotiation, for example, into what do they have in sick pay, what do they have in vacation pay, and those types of things, where they were on the elected grid versus where they would be on a new grid. So there's still several things, and those are things that in both those positions there's negotiations being done.
All right. I was just wondering if we wait that, if there's a snafu the last week in December.
Well, if there's a snafu, then we have a snafu.
Okay.
But I think hopefully we'll have it, through the PIC committee. We'll have it pretty well. We'll have done our homework, I hope, to satisfy you for you to make the right vote. Okay. All right. Okay. So and then then we did discuss also with the public health. There's an opportunity for us here to also do a little bit of restructuring in that department, and based on the information that we got today, it appears that what public health was recommending is going to be a good move for the county, and I think that's going to come before this board next Tuesday for ratification or making that change. So, and we'll get into the details of that when Kathy McKay will be here to explain it. That's all that I have at this point. Mr. Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few things. Last week, I had a Chamber of Commerce, I'm on the Public Affairs Committee there, and probably the main item of, that the Public Affairs Committee had was an update from the city, Mike Redlinger and Scott Hutchins, talked about the legislative update for the city of Moorhead in this area, and, you know, there was some more bonding money, just to review that, bonding money that was received for more flood protection. Just a reminder on the study that the legislature passed, what, $250,000 for a study on the North Dakota oil impact to Minnesota. I think we're really interested in that because we sit right on the edge of North Dakota, and it'll be interesting to see the financial impact, good or bad, and hopefully the rail issue that, you know, you guys heard last week where there was a double derailment again out at Castleton. And that is ever looming over us, that that could be really nasty if something does happen. So I think a couple of those things will be kind of important. And the disparity tax credit went down again for the businesses here in Clay County of Dilworth and Moorhead. Went from 1.9 to 1.6, which I think is a real favorable issue. It's a border city issues again, and the chair brought that up last couple of meetings ago, and we have to stay vigilant to that as well. Spent some time working on the elected officials. Darren and I met with at least one of them. We'll meet with the other one this week, and we know you want a smooth transition there, and everybody be treated fairly, and hopefully we can bring to the PIC committee and onto the board some, you know, a fair agreement there. Attended the land management as well. Commissioner Everett did address that. And I think they thought things were moving along much more favorably now with the appraisers and things down there, because there's not a lot of sales in Oakport, or I said that again. I keep saying that. Oxbow. I don't know why. Maybe they were trying to move you away, Kevin. I don't know. But anyway, the Oxbow, and that's smoothing out. There's been a lot of work there done. So, and the diversion meeting, Mr. Campbell covered that well. I did attend on Friday a Lakes Country symposium on collaboration. And I won't say it was just good, it was outstanding. We had some excellent presenters. One of the presenters was Gina Nolte from Public Health, dealing with a food bank, Food Hub it was called. And it takes a lot of people to work on something like that. Another one was some collaborations that occurred over in the Lakes Country in regards to some trails, which I think was a very good example of it. And I enjoyed that. I think we may have to look at a presenter that they had there as maybe coming to Clay County at some time in the future. I thought he was really good, too. Attended the township officers, as did Commissioner Everett and Commissioner Gross. Had some meetings with Public Health in regards to that position. That's been covered very well. And then we had the PIC committee meeting this morning that was covered very well. So with that, Mr. Chair, that completes my...
I did want to comment. I would have liked to have made the township officers meeting, but in my other place of employment, we had somebody out on maternity leave, and I had to be in the office that day. So I wish I could have been there. Okay, Vicki, anything for us? Jenny? No. All right, we're adjourned.